Good morning, everyone. Today, we are excited to discuss the earthquake events in the USA. Next slide. Together with my team, Miss Agarin, Miss Butilia, and Mr. Solon. And here's our presentation outline throughout the discussion. Next slide. So, why did we choose the USA as the focus of our report on earthquake events? Next slide. Because the United States is one of the most seismically active regions in the world. It's home to numerous faults and active volcanoes, making it a hotspot for earthquake activity. So, these statements highlights the two key reasons why the United States is considered a highly seismically active region. Next slide. First, numerous faults. So, based on that picture, the USA is situated along the boundary of several tectonic plates, that is, including the Pacific Plate, the North American Plate, and the Caribbean Plate. So these plates are constantly in motion, and their interactions create geological faults. So the USA is crisscrossed by a network of faults, such as the San Andreas Faults in California and the New Madrid Fault in the central United States. So, ang movement along these faults can result in earthquake. So, second one is active volcanoes. So, also the USA has several active volcanoes, particularly in the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. So the magma beneath these volcanoes can create pressure and stress in the surrounding rocks, leading to seismic activity. Additionally, volcanic eruptions can cause earthquakes, further contributing to the region's seismic activity. Next slide. So the USA experiences thousands of earthquakes yearly, ranging from barely perceptible tremors to major destructive events. Next slide. Here you can see a map of the United States, um, highlighting the significant faults and active volcanoes across the country. Next slide. So our presentation will feature three earthquake events in the United States. So each representing different aspects of seismic activity. Um, Earthquake events due to plate tectonics, earthquake events due to volcanic eruption, and earthquake events due to human-induced activity. So we will discuss these events, hazards, causes, structural damages, and its location of the epicenter and other information. So let's have Miss Agarin to discuss the first earthquake events due to plate tectonics.
Good morning, everyone. I am here to discuss about the biggest earthquake in U.S. history. So the Good Friday earthquake, also known as the Great Alaskan Earthquake, happened last March 27, 1964, with a magnitude of 9.2 in moment magnitude scale and in intensity 11. It happened and it lasted for 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Its epicenter is at Prince William Sound region. This release of energy relieved about 500 years of build-up stress. So mo ni siya ang usa sa mga pinaka-common nga makita ninyo nga picture about sa Good Friday earthquake. This is at 4th Avenue in Anchorage, Alaska. So ang depth from epicenter to focus is 25 kilometers. Then ang death toll ra ato kay 131, which ang mostly good is due to the tsunami. So in this map from USGS, we can see the earthquakes happen in Alaska from before and after 1964. Then napod rin nakaingon nga in 1964 earthquake kani nga area dire kay ni slip daw siya pa seaward pa doon dire gani kanang 66 feet seaward. So sa next slide na video, this will explain nganong napadung siya dire nga ang kuan man.
Reduction varies from 2.2 to 3 inches per year. We will animate the 1964 earthquake in 4 consecutive perspectives to understand what happened. Most people think of an earthquake as a sudden release of energy at the epicenter. In reality, an earthquake is caused by sudden displacement of rock across a fault at a given depth within the earth at the hypocenter. For great earthquakes, the displacement at the hypocenter is just the beginning. The initial fault break in 1964 triggered a runaway rupture that displaced an area more than 500 miles long. The entire fault rupture elapsed over 4.5 minutes, releasing immense seismic energy equivalent to a cascade of 1,000 magnitude 7 earthquakes. Let's zoom in now to a cross-section to view the plate interaction. The dense oceanic plate dives beneath the more buoyant continental plate at a rate of about 2.5 inches per year. Because tectonic plates are elastic like a spring, converging plates build energy at the leading edge of the continent. Blocked by friction, the upper plate is forced back and shortened, raising the land surface. GPS, not available in 1964, is now available to measure that strain. In 1964, the force of the converging plates overcame friction and caused the leading edge to lurch seaward, uplifting the seafloor, forming a mound of seawater that spread out as a tsunami. As coastal areas near the trench were uplifted, areas inland dropped. During the 1964 earthquake, the broad area at the leading edge of the overlying plate rose up as high as 9 meters, as the landward region subsided up to 2 meters, thus raising the shoreline barnacles well above sea level and dropping the inland shoreline below sea level, killing trees, leaving its legacy in ghost forests. The ground shook relentlessly as the rupture progressed along the fault surface. Prolonged shaking served to liquefy underground water-saturated sediment. Liquefaction triggered the landslides that caused major damage in Anchorage. Deformation of the seafloor, especially uplift along the Patent Bay Fault, produced a tsunami that spread across the Pacific Ocean. Astonishingly, only 9 people died from the earthquake itself, but 130 were killed by the subsequent tsunami that wreaked havoc across the northern Pacific region.
So mo to siya ang short jud nga brief of information about sa 1964 earthquake. So mo ni siya ang mga damages. So before 1964, Alaska and USA did not have comprehensive building codes specifically tailored for seismic resilience. Construction practices varied, and there was no uniform set of guidelines to address earthquake hazards. Buildings were often designed without adequate consideration of seismic forces. So kana siya mga few of the buildings, if wala man gani naguba ang in buildings like this na sa tong left, kay more likely kay ni sink ra jud ang uban. This is because loose kayo ng soil, kay mostly sand and gravel ra jud, and even karon na daw gihapon mga buildings and other structures nga wala gyud gi-consider ang properties gani sa soil nga lang gitukuran. So time will only tell if kanang mamaw ba gihapon ang mga damages nga ma-experience nila or dili. Then kini siya is landslide during the Turnagain Heights neighborhood of Anchorage, Alaska. So you can see nga daghan kayo og cracks sa ilang yuta, kay loose kayo, then taas sad gud kayo ang linog. Imagine 4 minutes and 38 seconds. So ato gani nga kadyot ra to, then 7 ra to. Grabe na gani atong kahadlok when how much more ilang nga taas kayo. Then 3 sa kani nga area ang Chinega in Alaska is na wipe out gud ilaha aside sa kani nga eskwelahan kay above sea level man siya natukod, then the rest jud kay na wipe out jud, and diha jud ilaha ang 1/3 sa ilang or 2/3 sa ilang population ang na wipe out. Then mo po na siya ang one span of the $1 million truss bridge of the former Copper River and Northwest Railroad. So na hugno gid ilahang kuan ang one span, luckily one span ra. Then mo ni siya ang close up look sa ilahang silang bridge. Then another sa ilang roads, then kani siya sa ilahang control tower at International Airport. Then let us review nga mao ni siya ang kanang map jud sa United States. Kani siya diri ang uban, then mo ni ang Alaska, then diri sa ubos ang Hawaii. Imagine nga diri to dapita ang epicenter sa katong 1964 nga linog, but na feel siya hangtod diri sa Washington DC nga pati ang Space Needle daw ato kay ni wave sad gani. If you are familiar sa Space Needle taas nga building sa DC kay ni wave jud og apil, so ina na siya kakusog. Then ang siege pod na nabati pod hantod diri dapita sa Louisiana. Then this is the map or National Seismic Hazard Model of USGS, chance of damaging earthquake shaking. So since naman dito ang megathrust earthquake sa Alaska, which is asa to? Diri kaniman to nga fault ang nilihok ato. Asa ang ato ang linlug is gamay raman nga fault ang nilihok ilaha kay up to 800 900 kilometer man, so dako jud kayo nga movement and mao sa tong taas kayo, then grabe na pod to nga stress build up. So and tungod pud ni nga linog kay na build ang mga design and building codes, stricter building codes sa US to consider earthquake hazards. So man siya makita na to nga diri sa Alaska na dako jud ilang chance nga magkakusog yun nga earthquake. Even 2018, 2017, naka-experience sila og dagko nga earthquake. Even with stricter building codes, naka-experience gyapon sila og kanang cracking sa ilang roads and mga different pod nga tawag ni damages and structural. Then diri na pod other seismic hazard diri sa California and western parts sa US, which is na ang famous na San Andreas Fault. So to end my report, fun fact, after the 1964 earthquake, naka-experience na pod sila og another earthquake, one just before ni nag 1 year, and it was considered third of the strongest earthquake nga na-experience sa US. So this is the Anchorage, Alaska now.
So thank you for that, Ms. Agarin. And now, in the United States, there have been instances where earthquakes were triggered volcanic eruption. And one such event that brought tremors to the Americans was, next slide please, the eruption of Mount St. Helens. So this Mount of St. Helens is dubbed as the Mount Fuji of United States. Next slide please. It is situated in the state of Washington, USA, and this volcano is one of the many on the Cascade Range of mountains on the western side of the country. So Mount St. Helens is located in the boundary. Is located in the boundary between two tectonic plates, the Juan de Fuca and the North American plates. So it is part of the Ring of Fire, and it's an area known for frequent seismic and volcanic activity. So as you can see sa katong di present ni niya ganiha, katong naay map sa USA and katong naay legend nga kung asa taon dapita ang kanang vulnerable for kanang earthquake. So usa ni ang Mount St. Helens because it is located on the western side of the country. So, after being dormant for many years since its last eruption, next slide please, on March 16, 1980, a series of earthquakes awoken the volcano from its dormant activity. And on March 27, 1980, the volcano produced its first eruption in over 100 years. So, following hundreds of minimal earthquakes, there was a steam explosion that blasted a 60 to 75 meter wide crater by the volcano summit. So volcanologists flocked the area of Mount St. Helens, as you can see from the picture in the lower right nga naadyo ka ng mga volcanologists nga nagstudy sa behavior sa Mount St. Helens on that period. So there were theories and simulations that create to visualize the eruption of Mount St. Helens to scan the evacuation area. So, but on the May 1st of 1980 to 17, there was a noticeable blood bulge na na-observe, and it grew day by day. So more than 10,000 earthquakes had shaken the volcano, and the north flank had grown outward about 140 meters to form a prominent bulge. And on May 18, 1980, at 8:32 a.m. Next slide, please. A 5.1 magnitude earthquake struck the area, and eventually the volcano erupted, which blasted laterally and caused a disaster. So this event is also referred to as the worst landslide in history and one of the most devastating disasters in the country. So um, next slide, please. So please go play. So as you can see in that picture, so ni kuan ang yuta, di ba? Because of the earthquake nga naka-trigger ato. And then mo to nga ni blast ang ni erupt na jud siya, and that eruption caused a massive destruction in that area. So next slide, please. So what caused it to blast laterally? Well, most volcanologists depicted that it would blast vertically because of the almost perfect cone shape of the mountain. But because of the melted glacier, kanang as you can see on the picture nga naay kanang sa ice, di ba? So because of that melted glacier, ang lava daw kay ni punta diha. So motog nato nakit-an nga bulge. So it grew day by day, and then moto tungod sa pressure ato nya ni kuan pa jud ang 5.1 nga magnitude earthquake. So it blasted laterally. So next slide, please. So moto, as you can see in that picture, moto kong i-explain kanina, nga because of that permanent bulge, so it blasted laterally and a massive avalanche was created. So it caused a 17 to 18 mile fan-shaped path of destruction. And next slide, please. Next slide, Tajud. Kasi wala na ito ganina. So these are the damages that created by the Mount St. Helens eruption. So there were 57 people lost their lives, and almost 200 homes and around 27 bridges were destroyed, and about 12 million board feet of stockpiled lumber were swept in the river. Countless wildlife in the blast area died, and trees blown down could make around 4 billion board feet of timber. So as you can see, almost damages nila kay trees jud, because around sa Mount St. Helens kay daghan jud ng kahoy because of the kanang enriched soil of the volcano. But tungod sa kanang ang yuta kay kanang dili siya suitable for building structures. So minimal kayo ang damage for structures. But mostly, next slide please. Kani siya dire kay cause ni siya sa lahar nga nakuan sa pag-erupt sa volcano. So that is why an estimated $175 million of damaged crops and machineries were estimated. So next slide, please. So as you can see on the map at the right, kay mo ni siya ang area nga na cover sa pag-erupt sa Mount St. Helens. So the green one kay mo na sa mga trees nga na blown down ug that are died, and also it shows that the flows of avalanche kung asa siya ni punta. So and kana diha dapita kay nag-cause na siya og kana massive destruction to the around the area of Mount St. Helens. So next slide, please. So this is the Mount St. Helens 40 years later. So as you can see nga ni thrive na jud siya, and nagkanam na og kabalik iyahang beauty. So however, there are earthquakes recorded as of January to February of 2024. Next slide, please. So although these are minimal earthquakes, Will it cause a major destruction of the century, or are we prepared for its destruction? So that would be all for my presentation.
Next slide, please. So, good morning, everyone. So, now we're done with natural earthquakes. Let's talk about human induced earthquakes. So, we included man made earthquakes because we want to share how our actions can cause earthquakes. So, the event that we're going to share to you is actually not that destructive. However, it's very important, especially to the city where it happened. So, this city is the Oklahoma City, and the event was the 5.7 magnitude earthquake that happened in November 6, 2011 in Lincoln County. So it has the focus has a depth of 5.2 kilometers and it has a maximum intensity of 7. And so 5.7 is it's not that strong compared to this ato. As you can see, on casualties, only 2 injured and no deaths recorded. As for the damages, next slide please. So for the damages, minor kay siya. Mga chimneys falling, mga brick walls nga natagak, and mga walls nga naguba. So this event is actually very important sa city because if we, next slide please. If we look at this graph, Oklahoma City is almost a zero earthquake city. So from 1970s to 2008, almost zero ang ilang earthquakes. But pag abot og aris mga 2010 to 2015, naabot og 887 earthquakes for 2015 alone. So it's very concerning sa ilang lugar kay from zero to almost 800. So nahibong gid sila. So next slide please. So, ang usa sa reason nga nung nahibong sila kay if you look at the map of Oklahoma City, it is located at the center of the United States. And from the maps that they've shown you earlier, most of the earthquakes kay nahitabo diya sa edge, diri sa left side or aray sa right side. So, nahibong sila. And for the next slide please. If we look at the earthquake risk from USGS o sa FEMA.gov, Oklahoma City has a relatively low to very low earthquake risk. So, di man ta kaingon nga cause niya kay tectonic plates kay layo ra. Di sa ta kaingon nga volcanic eruptions kay there are no active volcanoes sa Oklahoma City. So, ang possible nga reasons kay maybe faults. So, ilang gi-investigate. Next slide, please. So, there's actually a one major fault sa Oklahoma City, and that is the Mears Fault, kaning nasa left side nga picture, nasa Ubos Mears Fault, and 2 fault zone, Nimaha Fault Zone and Gonzeta Fault Zone. So, ang katong earthquake ng 5.7, it happened near sa Wilzeta Fault, kilid ra gyud siya. So, natay foreshock, which happened 2 days prior sa main shock. So, they thought nga natural ra to siyang earthquake. But, upon further investigation, they found out nga ang cause gid sa mga earthquakes na adto kay kuan. Next slide, please. Kay mga oil companies nga gitukod sa lugar. So, USA is a rich country. So, na sila oil sa adto and mag-extract na sila oil. So how do these companies cause earthquake, man? Let's watch a video.
See, when oil and gas get pumped from the ground, massive amounts of toxic water come up with it. To dispose of it, companies inject it back deep into the earth. Out of sight, out of mind, theoretically. But sometimes that wastewater can add pressure to existing faults, causing them to slip, triggering earthquakes.
Next slide. Next slide, please. So, the act of kanang extracting oil is not the one that causes earthquakes, but rather the disposal of wastewater. So inig extract nila oil kay kailangan man nila i-pump og tubig para maguba gani ang shale kung asa to ang oil. And then inig-extract sa oil, ang katong water nga ilang gi-inject kay madasa to siya. Nya makuha naman to siya, mga toxic wastewater naman to siya. So asa man nila i-dispose. So ilarang gibalik underground kay ma-absorb man. However, di ba ganiya ang katong epicenter is located near sa fault, sa Wilzetta fault. So ang katong wastewater nga ilang gidam nakakause siya og kanang disturbance sa fault. So mao to nag-cause siya earthquake. So next slide please. So if you look at this, kani normal sa left and then nakuanan og tubig sa right na disturb gid siya. Next slide please. So na yung mga studies nga ni-emerge nga nag-show sa correlation sa mga oil companies o katong wastewater disposal sa mga earthquakes. So daghan kayo ang red compared sa kaning gray. Diya sa Oklahoma City, daghan ang red compared sa gray. So nakaingan sila nga ang cause gid sa earthquakes nila to ay kay tungod sa katong mga wastewater disposal. And next slide please. So balance sa graph. So from 0 to 887, then kabantay mo ka nang niubos siya. So pag 2016 naka-experience sila og kanang 5.8 magnitude. And moto nakaingon sila nga i-stop na ang mga operation ato sa mga oil companies or maybe i-lessen ang pag-dispose sa katong wastewater. Moto ang earthquakes nila ato ni anam sa og kagamay. So next slide. Ano siya ang kanang representation sa mga earthquakes nga nahitabo sa Oklahoma nga ang cause kay wastewater. So, kabantay mo, kanang concentrated kayo ang earthquakes adto sa dapit sa tunga. So, so kani, mo ni siya mga faults sa Oklahoma. And then next, mo na siya ang mga disposal wells. So, kung asa ang fault o kung asa ang katong mga disposal wells, nara sa dadto ang earthquakes. Mora.
So in conclusion, earthquakes are a significant natural hazard that can have devastating consequences, including loss of life, destruction of infrastructure, and economic upheaval. So, ang United States are particularly vulnerable to earthquakes due to its long tectonic plate boundaries and the active volcanoes and also its human-induced activity. So, by understanding the causes and effects of earthquakes, we can better prepare for future events and mitigate their impact on our communities. And that could be all. Thank you.
Okay. Kuanta kaning thumbs up emoticon for the group. Okay, very good, no? Very good. So, nalingaw ko sa inyong presentation, no? So, I've handled this class numerous times. Nindot ang inyong gipang pili nga case study, no? So, for one, the first event, no? Ang focus was on Alaska. So, ang nakaka-capture ngadto sa akong attention was katong 500 years of stored energy resulting to a magnitude 9 earthquake. But because karaan tong panahon, di pa kay siguro progressive at that time ang Alaska. And Alaska gamay ra gyud og population, and as shown in the photos, dili kayo siya kanang di kay tag-as ang mga buildings pa. So ang iyahang damage to structure and loss of lives is very minimal. So if ato na ibutang sa Philippine setting, then you would imagine nga nganong Manila anticipating na kaayo sila sa the big one, no? So ana siya, pila ka years of stored energy wala pag yun gi-release until now, and you could see the skyscrapers in Manila is crazy, no? So in Asia, nako nakita nga presentation ani before, Manila is included in the top 10 cities with the highest number of tall buildings actually. So imagine, mo na siya ang kakulba on the occurrence of the big one. Murag na common na lang siya, big one, pero mo na siya ang issue. And labi na karon nga na ay pertaining issue on the use of performance-based design. I don't know if you've heard it, but if nakakita mo sa code and the calculation of base shear, we have the R value nga mo'y atong basis on the design of our lateral loading from earthquake. However, performance-based design is a totally different approach. This has not been included in the code but vaguely presented as alternative analysis and design methodology. Wa gyud siya gihisgot nga performance-based design. And ang points ani of discussion when I attended a conference late last year was unsay assurance of the performance-based design, especially if includes design that are out of code, no, out of code limitations, and because it's just the code just barely says, vaguely says other kana analysis and design methods. And many of the tall buildings in Metro Manila are designed using performance-based design. So, mana siya. I don't know if you've heard of C Squared. It's one of the famous structural engineering firm in the Philippines, particularly in NCR, no? Kasagaran, Ayala nga development, kaning mga Ayala buildings na to dere sa Cebu Business Park, no, kan mga condominium nga tag-as. It's designed by C Squared, and most likely they are designed to performance-based design. Anyways, mo na Alaska, dako kayo 9.1 magnitude, but because karaan kay siya nga panahon, gamay pa ang tao, mugbo pa ang mga building, even with that massive significant earthquake event, gamay ra siya, we may say gamay ra siya damage and gamay ra siya death toll, no? So na siya. And ang ako sang naganahan nga discussion was the third part, no? So of all the reports nga ako nagian, katupak ko nakakita nga naay report on man-made nga event, no, which is not common as a source of ground shaking, because usual ground shaking is from landslide due to mining, mga inana ba, no? Mining ni palyar ang system sa ihang gibuhat nga mina, mao na mag-landslide, mao na ground shaking, or kanang bombing, no, terrorist attack, or kanang mining nga mogamit og explosives, mao na mogamit og tremors. But the topic 3 was interesting for me personally. It's something new, no? So mo nang ganahan ko mga inani kay it opens up no, the sharing of different events. Dili lang ta limited to whatever I have to offer. And ako lang curiosity ato was when was this kanang disposal of water started, no? And how long did it take for the earthquake activities to commence, no? Murag iyahan og sa concrete pa curing period, no, unsa man kadugay gikan sa pagsugod ana nga practice nga niabot siya ana nga practice, and does it have to do with the amount of volume of water being disposed, okay, basin og controlled or whatever inana ba. So um I bet it's a difficult decision for the government to stop the oil operations, given that our country today, our world today is oil hungry because of our energy demands, no, are very high, no. If you notice sa unang panahon mabuhi ra tag electric pan, karon kay mangita na gyud tag aircon, no. So during my time when I did my bachelor's, ang amo ang when I started my first year, amo ang mga rooms ato kay kuan pa to siya, electric pan, no? But karon even in public state universities already aircon. So mao na siya. um I don't know, maybe you could shed some light regarding those questions and possible nindot siya nga kana for discussion. But I believe the researchers who have done extensive studies on those issues kay naa sila answers ato, but maybe not published because mo na published elsewhere for scientific community, but not for kaning mga inani basic information schemes. Thank you again, group group 3, no, USA presenters. Pakpak balik, pakpak guys, pakpak. Can we have the group 4?
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Miss. So, hello, good morning, everyone. We are the fourth presenter of the class, and we have chosen Turkey as our earthquake engineering case study. Next slide, please. But before we proceed to our presentation, let me introduce to you our group. So, starting with myself, I'm Stephanie Sandigan. Together with, can you please turn on your mic, guys?
And just a fake Clara.
So, so together with my team, we will present the country Turkey and its earthquake events. So, next slide, please. So, you might wonder why we have chosen this country nga dili man siya, wala man siya sa nabilong sa place nga where frequent earthquake occurs sa katong mga sa Pacific Ring of Fire where Japan, New Zealand, US, so mga frequent earthquakes kay nahitabo. So in this presentation we will discuss particular reasons so why we chose this country, and one of its particular reason kay kani Turkey occupies a unique geographical position sa atong planet, and it lies mostly in Asia, but there are some parts nga it lies on Europe. So a place called Turkish Thrace or Trachea kay considered part sa Europe nga continent because many years ago katong napay mga empires, European empires kay part man na ang kanang place sa kanang katunga empire sa Europe. So until now kay considered gihapon siya part sa Europe and wala ra na nila giusab. But most of the kanang places on Turkey, so aside from that place, Turkish is kay considered na part sa Asia. That is why we can call or consider Turkey as an Asian country. So next please. So here is the kanang map sa Turkey. And it has kanang and muna ang mga specific boundaries surrounding the country. So on the north side or north part is ang Black Sea, which is the largest inland sea sa atong planet. On the northeast side kay ang Georgia and Armenia. Sa east side kay ang Azerbaijan and Iran. And the southeast side kay ang Iraq and Syria. So all of that kanang countries on the right side of Turkey kay considered an Asian country. And then sa southwest side kay the Mediterranean Sea and the Aegean Sea. And on the northwest side, as you can see, kanang European countries na din nga side, which is ang Greece and ang Bulgaria sa upper part. Next slide, please. So again, we have chosen Turkey for this particular reasons, because we have known nga kanang naay major fault lines that is kanang spread across the whole country. So it is called the kanang North Anatolian Fault. Kanang green nga lines na makita ninyo sa north part sa country, which kanang spread 870 miles or 1,300 kilometers that threatens major cities such as Ankara, the kanang capital city of Turkey, and Istanbul, which is the kanang largest city by population sa country. And then sa lower east side po sa country, kay napoy kanang fault, kanang red nga lines na nag-run po all across the kanang east side sa country, which is also called kanang East Anatolian Fault Zone. So it covers kanang approximately 620 miles or 1,000 kilometers and poses a risk to millions of people in the southeastern region. So kanang as you can kanang see kay most of these, almost all kanang earthquakes events or occurrence sa kaninga country is kanang caused by kanang tectonic activities sa kanang fault. So next slide please. So this is the kanang earthquake risk map uploaded by AFAD or the Turkey's disaster and emergency management kanang agency. So they uploaded this updated earthquake risk map where kanang shade of red nga shown din ha is where kanang lies the kanang high risk jud of kanang earthquake occurrence no, mostly mga earthquake activities kay will happen ara jud na part. So as you notice kanang same, so katong fault ganiha kay mao sa na dira pud na part ang pinaka high risk jud. And then kanang mga light yellow nga shade dira kay dira ang low risk or low to none kanang earthquake occurrence sa country. So next slide please. So for this kanang presentation kay we have decided to present the top 3 kanang recorded or pinaka strongest earthquake that has been recorded for this country. So next please. So this is the kanang location map of the top 3 most recorded, strongest nga earthquake that has happened sa Turkey. So ang pinaka latest jud is kaning sa Kahramanmaraş, Turkey, that also kanang affected the Syria, northern Syria nga part. So it happened last February 6, 2023. So last year lang ni siya. And I think nakakuansan mo ana sa news pud. And then next kay ang Izmit, there is a north part sa country which happened last August 17, 1999. And just 3 months later, after that earthquake, kay an earthquake pud sa Dushi province kay nahitabo. So pag November 12, 1999. So mo na ilahang kuan kanang mga red dira nahitabo ang ay dira ang epicenter sa mga earthquakes. Next please. So we'll start kanang presenting to the kanang third strongest earthquake in the country, which happened sa Dushe province. So here shows the map sa kanang movement sa tectonic fault. So dira sa kanang North Anatolian fault, it moves kanang ang cause sa earthquake is ang lateral strike strip sa kaning North Anatolian fault. So as you can see, kanang star is where the kanang epicenter or kanang the kuan jud center sa earthquake happened, and then the arrows shows the movement of the kanang fault, the NAF fault. So next please. So the Dushi earthquake happened November 12, 1999 with a magnitude of 7.2 and a total kanang tallied scored death nga 894. So this was kanang recorded sa kanang ilang official nga website sa katong AFAD pod. So the impact of the earthquake in Dushi resulted in significant casualties and infrastructure damage, highlighting the destructive power of seismic events in Turkey. Kay again, this was the time nga kanang dili jud, first time nila naka-experience nga nakakusog nga earthquake. So murag na kuan siya eye opener for more itong ipa-stricter ilahang mga building qualities and infrastructure gani. So again, these earthquakes have had a profound impact on Turkey, causing immense loss of life and extensive damage, emphasizing the country's vulnerability to seismic events. So next please. So these are some of the kanang documented damages that happened on the province. So naay na overturned nga building due to liquefaction or weakened foundation. And then napoy apartment building na ni-collapse completely in the town of Kainasli in Dushi province. Next please. And there are also kanang buildings in Adaparazi that sank into the ground and the displaced soil heave. So ni sank ang buildings niya, ni saka ang kuan nila, karsada. And then there are also landslide na nahitabo, and the kanang minaret on the mosque pod kay ni collapse. Next please. So that's it for my presentation. So let's move forward to the next presenter. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. I am here to present the second strongest recorded earthquake in Turkey. So, this happened in Izmit, or it is also known as the Koselay or the Gulkok earthquake that happened in August 17, 1999 with a magnitude of 7.4. And so here is the location of the earthquake. Its epicenter is in Izmit, but the most affected place was in Gulkok, which also in Koselay. And the cause of the earthquake is the strike slip of the fault, where the Anatolian block moved westward and the Eurasian plate moved to the east. So Izmit is sorry for that. So this earthquake is a devastating earthquake caused widespread destruction in the western Turkey, particularly impacting the city of Izmir and triggering significant loss of life. So it was recorded to have approximately 17,000 to 8,000 deaths. And also, this earthquake is one of the best recorded earthquake in the world because for the first time, the researchers observed that the earthquake was preceded by a preparatory phase that would last for 44 minutes, and this earthquake lasted for 45 minutes. So here, as you can see, this is the affected area, which also affected the nearby place of Izmot. So this earthquake causes 250,000 people to be homeless, as it really affects their infrastructures or their buildings. So here are the damages. Here is the collapse and damaged buildings along the waterfront of Gulkok along the Sea of Marmara. And here we can see that there are families in camps in front of the Wicked House on the main avenues of Izmit following the quake. So also, as you can see, the buildings were totally collapsed and crumbled like sandcastle, killing more than 17,000 people. And also, after the earthquake, there is also a tsunami that happened that approximately causes 155 deaths and ran up with a wave height of 1.5 to 2.6 meters. So this also the collapse of the cooling tower of Pitkim petrochemical plant. So this damages causes a fire that lasted for 5 days. And also there are 17 tanks that explode due to the earthquake that causes fire that makes people to evacuate 2.5 within the perimeter of the fire. So that would be all for this earthquake. So next would be the strongest recorded earthquake in Izmir, in Turkey.
Okay, thank you, Shini. So for the first one, next slide, please. So it was just last year, which is February 6, 2023. So this is known for the Turkey-Syria earthquake or Kahramanmaraş earthquake sequence. So this earthquake has a magnitude of 7.8 and its location of epicenter is in Kahramanmaraş, Turkey. So during this earthquake, so it happened at 4:15 a.m. local time in Turkey. So imagine sleeping in your bed, then bukawon lang mo sa earthquake of magnitude 7.8. So for its details, so the earthquake resulted from shifting of tectonic plates at a depth of 17 kilometers, leading to extensive casualties and triggering a tsunami, causing further destruction. So as you can see sa map, so that is the shake intensity from the severe to the light shake intensity. So why is it called earthquake sequence? So you might wonder. So according to USGS or US Geological Survey, so the main quake was followed 11 minutes later by a magnitude of 6.7 aftershock. And 9 hours later, they experienced a 7.5 magnitude, which struck 95 kilometers to the north. So it is still considered an aftershock despite it lying in another fault because the magnitude 7.5 earthquake is close to the main shock. So imagine you have experienced a 7.8 at 4:15 a.m. and then after 11 minutes you have 6.7 aftershock and 9 hours later na nasa 7.5 magnitude earthquake. So that is why it is called an earthquake sequence. Next slide, please. So as you can see in the picture, so this is a map of the earthquake or the location of the earthquake in Turkey. So the circle in red are the quakes and aftershocks, and the box in black are the cities with reports of damage. So why is this earthquake destructive? So aside from the series of strong earthquake aftershocks, so one of its reason is its location. So as reported ganiha, so there is a fault near sa southeast nga parts sa Turkey, which is the East Anatolian Fault System. And previously recorded said within that area was a 6.7 magnitude last January of 2020. So it is actually seismically active plate or the fault area diha sa East Anatolian. And then the location of Turkey is within the three intersection of tectonic plates, namely the Anatolia, which is where Turkey is located, then the Arabia, which is in its southeast, diadapit sa may Syria, and then it's Africa or the southwest plates. So when these tectonic plates move, so it really caused massive destruction. So the cause of this earthquake is the strike-slip faulting of East Anatolian Fault System. Next is that it recorded a local small-scale tsunami in the southeastern Mediterranean Sea. So mo na siya ang katong sa south part nga boundary. So but due to complexity of earthquake source and lack of water observations, how the tsunami waves were generated remains mysterious for them and still under study right now. And about 37 buildings collapsed and over 200 buildings were heavily damaged. And then another reason is that the earthquake, as what I've mentioned, happened at midnight at 4:15 a.m. So this results in a high number of casualty, which raised to 56,697 death toll. And another reason, or last reason, is that according to the USGS scientist David Wald, so the buildings in the region were not designed to withstand earthquakes. So the size of the earthquake is devastating for the vulnerable structures within the region. So next slide, please. So here are some of the damages that were caused by the earthquake. So the Gaziantep 2,200 years old Roman monument collapsed later as the region witnessed several aftershocks. So it is really severely damaged, and you can see how the structures have collapsed, and that it's before and after difference in the picture. Next, please. Another thing is the collapse of Escandarian Hospital. So in the first pic, so makita nimo ang whole structure jud nga from ni kuan na jud ni na collapse na jud siya. And then in the next picture, the second picture is the ICU nga part sa hospital, wherein there are several rescuers looking for more to patients nga ilang ma-rescue during that time. And then the third one is that mo na siya ang ilang agianan wherein naguba na sad ang other side sa structures. Next slide. So that is the Yani Mosque in Malatya. So naguba na sad ang iyang sa may ceiling and as well as ang part sa iyang walls and structure. So that is the before and after. So next slide. So to summarize all of this earthquake, okay, what we have the causes of its damages. So the causes of damages from the 1999 Izmit and Dusce earthquakes, as well as the 2023 earthquake in Turkey, are multifaceted and can be attributed to various factors. So the three factors were the building quality and compliance. Second is the rapid urbanization and population density. The third is inadequate infrastructure resilience. But first, let's tackle about the building quality and compliance. So, building quality and compliance plays a huge role of building quality and with its building codes in Turkey, especially those with great magnitudes. So, it is actually an issue there in Turkey, for the Turkish government puts blame on construction builders, highlighting the importance of building code and how it could have been prevented and lessen the number of deaths or casualties. So actually Turkish have one of the updating ilahang building code, but then ang mga builders themselves failed to implement it or follow the building code. So from the recent lang nila nga earthquake, which is the Turkey-Syria earthquake, so Turkish police arrested about mga 200 people over allegedly poor building construction, which immediately after the 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck. So building quality and compliance really is a ilahapag gi-work on, wherein they should have followed the building codes in their country. And another issue for that is that some companies, construction companies, hired private agencies to inspect inspect their buildings instead of government man ang mo-inspect for their, if they have passed the requirements and all for constructing building. But some other companies have a private agencies to inspect their buildings, and of course due to power or money kay naiuban nga mupas na lang as a result of kanang mo ng mga subpar nga materials and mo fail ang mga buildings pag earthquake. Next slide please. So next is the rapid urbanization and population density. So rapid urbanization, especially in areas to significant earthquake damage, led to swift construction of buildings to accommodate the growing population, often without adherence to proper building codes and standards. So moto siya earlier ang gamit sad sa building quality and compliance, wherein they have or they need to construct buildings in response to their rising population. So next is the inadequate infrastructure and resilience. So the government also lacked the ability to respond in time, to get rescuers, and to aid in place for survivors. So in Turkey, a primary port in the southern part of the country suspended operations during the day after the earthquake due to a quake-related fire. So tungod ana kay ang pag-respond sa mga ang pag-disseminate sa mga goods and other resources have been delayed. And according to the International Medical Corps, so these obstructions lead to a bottleneck effect. So where aid is unable to reach the people and it was intended to help. So that will be all for the causes and damages.
Okay. Thank you, Turkey Group. Thank you for presenting the different hazards, no, due to the 3 earthquake events, no. So, ang ako lang ani ang Turkey manggod is muna siya old saan pagsulti, old country, old nation, marina old nation, no, taas kayo og historic nga stories, no, so taas nindot siya og cultural background. So as you stated earlier nga kuan siya kana up to the katubang mga empire nga panahon. So when the representative from the Turkish embassy showcasing the different scholarships visited us here last month, no, so daghan gyud sila opportunities for scholarship, and I was somewhat interested to take in their research kanang exchange program na 6 months ra because of the recent earthquake events in Turkey, and I was wondering ano to nahitabo inana, no, na given na kanang though it's not part of the ring, it has history of kanang earthquake events diha dapita. Okay, thank you again to the second group. Virtual applause from the class. And I believe apiki na tanong quarter na for the next group, and I'll see you na lang Monday next week for the rest of the group. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you next week. God bless.